So please do keep your questions coming in throughout the presentation, and we'll take those at the end. Also, we're going to have two different speakers going through the presentation today, so we're going to kind of hand back and forth and keep it interesting that way. So if you have questions for either one or both, feel free to keep those coming. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let John Pearl kick it off. John, take it away. John, can you hear us? I think you might have muted yourself, so if you can unmute yourself and take it away, we'll be able to hear you. James, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to John. He was on the line here a moment ago, so hang on one second. I think, let me see what happened here. John, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. We lost you there for a second.
Sorry,
all right,
everyone.
John.
I don't know what happened to my phone, but it just disconnected, so I'm ready
no worries.
to go.
Anyway, go ahead. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to really thank James Gold for attending with us from SAP. And what I'll do is I'll just go over what we're going to discuss today. And first, we're going to just give you an overview on Huawei and solutions for SAP HANA. Then we'll discuss Huawei and SAP, for performance, really show you why this is the ultimate solution, and then go through Huawei scalability, and then talk about our Huawei Converged and traditional solution, versus traditional database solutions. So now I'd like to just talk about Huawei as a global company. A lot of you may not be as familiar with Huawei, so I'd just like to go through that really quickly. Huawei is actually a $46 billion in revenue company. So in 2014, we did $46 billion in revenue. We're working with 45 of the top 50 telecom operators run on Huawei. We have 150,000 employees, of which over half are dedicated to R&D, and we're Fortune 500 company. We actually were established in the U.S. in 2001 in Plano, Texas, and Huawei's enterprise division, of which we're part of today, was started 3 years ago. And so one of the nice things about Huawei in the U.S. is we've made a huge investment in the U.S., over $1 billion in working with U.S. companies. And so I'd like to just go right on to Huawei and SAP and have James talk about our partnership.
Great, John. Thanks very much, and thank you as well, and thanks to Huawei for inviting us to participate in this webinar, and welcome to all of you. Delighted to have all of you with us as well. As John said, we have a wonderful partnership, and we're really quite pleased with it. I'd like to think on both sides of the fence, and indeed, as the slide here says, we are some very strong complementary partners in many ways. As John said earlier, the fact that Huawei has these trusted relationships with as many telcos is a wonderful asset in and of itself, not to mention its strength overall in many global and emerging markets, and its extensive infrastructure and overall management expertise. So we're very pleased that that's a great complementary solution to SAP's strengths in the world of business enterprise software. We've been in existence, as many of you know, since 1972. It's been 43 years now. We've got some deep industry knowledge across quite a few industries, and we've also got a proven world-class application portfolio as well. And as you can see below, there's a young but quite frankly very, very strong partnership in the world of what we have done with Huawei. First, Huawei was announced as our first global technology partner based in China in 2012, and then later that year, its device was certified for SAP HANA, and that was showcased the following year in 2013 at CeBIT. And also that year, we not only had some great go-to-market successes with some of our other products, including Sybase ASE and Sybase IQ, but also had another launch and certification of the Fusion Cube HANA device in Beijing Sapphire in 2013. And as John will discuss later on, we've got some wonderful references as well for the joint integrated solution, the device, and the marketing and joint initiatives continue, both on the marketing and sales arena. And so for those of you who, of course, are considering working with us jointly, working with Huawei on the reseller side of things, there's some great opportunity. Not least of all, as you can see, we have quite a few success stories that have already arisen over this time. If we can go to the next slide, we'll see that we've got an abundance of different industries covered here. Again, I don't want to steal John's thunder, but some nice joint references anywhere from finance and retail to education, obviously that big telecom sector, as we said earlier, and we're looking forward to many more. So, John, I'll toss it to you, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about SAP HANA.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Great. Sorry, I disconnected again, but I dialed in from my cell phone. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, so now I'd like to just talk about Huawei and SAP HANA for performance. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is just the difficulties of real-time analysis. When you're looking at doing real-time data analysis, the problems are there's latency between going from memory to hard drive or SSD, and what SAP's tried to do is really eliminate these latencies. And what we'll do is we'll explain, how Huawei and SAP are working together with a certified solution in order to really give you ultimate performance, at least 10 times faster than a traditional database. So we'll go on to the next slide.
Okay, John. Well, thanks very much for teeing things up. And indeed, those of you who may not be aware of it, this was one of several dilemmas, if you will, that we were trying to solve in the creation on the SAP side of SAP HANA. So when we talk about SAP HANA, not certain how familiar you are with it. I know that there's been no shortage of buzz about it, but just to get everyone on the same page, SAP HANA is our next generation platform. It's capable of processing massive quantities of data in real time with very, very little tuning or maintenance. And the idea is, in fact, it's more than just a database. In fact, as you can see here, we've got a number of accompanying services as well. It's inclusive of things like our application platform services, integration, data virtualization, certainly mission-critical deployment services, and integration and spatial, geospatial, text, predictive, and more. So the idea is really that you can process any type of data with SAP HANA, and the end result is that you have a platform for applications that are ultimately far faster and far more agile, as John says, with fewer servers. And in fact, it enables really that speed and simplicity. So it's important to note that, again, we've done quite a bit of work around HANA, and not only that, but we've also got some great successes. And so you'll see here that among other things, we have delivered quite a few different results. We've got almost 6,000 HANA customers since we launched in 2011. So we are quite thrilled about that. And also, it's important to note, by the way, that HANA is deployable in several different scenarios. It's not only deployable on-premise, but also in the cloud as well. And so we've got a variety of different means in which HANA applications can be consumed by end users, whether that is, again, in the form of an on-premise device or cloud or perhaps a combination thereof. And moreover, we've built an entire ecosystem around it, and indeed Huawei is a huge part of that ecosystem. As you see here, we've got not just companies the size of Huawei, but also 1,800 plus startups. And many of those startups are building wonderful applications, and those applications in turn are the sorts of things that we would anticipate being deployed on the Huawei HANA device, for example. So some nice use cases. John will be going through it later on, but among other things, just as one very minor example, minor in the sense of it's just a small representation of what we can do. If you look at someone like the University of Kentucky, for example, they're using advanced predictive analysis to increase graduation rates, improve the productivity of their business users, all with much lower IT maintenance costs. And as you see here, even we ourselves internally at SAP, for example, have used HANA, for example, with our simple finance application. We've seen that we have reduced the data footprint by up to 37 times. That's not 37%, but 37 times. So throughput, in fact, is 3 times higher. Application code is 90% smaller. So again, this is the sort of innovation that HANA allows. So hopefully that just gives you a good flavor for the sorts of things that HANA itself delivers. And the other beauty of what we provide is that we couldn't do it without all of the integration and frankly cooperation of many of our esteemed hardware vendors. And that's where this great integrated solution with Huawei comes into play. So John, I'll let you take it from here.
Great. Thanks, James. Again, with the SAP InMemory Database, we take the best in technology from Huawei hardware and pair it with SAP's InMemory Database technology.
Hey, John. Hey, John, this is Nick. Do me a favor and just speak up as much as you can because you're just a little bit quiet. So speak up. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. So with Huawei's technology, as I'll just talk about in the fall, and hopefully you can hear me better now. I'll be discussing really why the ultimate in performance is Huawei with SAP. And so this directly relates to our PCIe SSD, which is the fastest PCIe SSD on the market. And so we'll go on to discuss about the Huawei and SAP HANA architecture. So really this is an intricate slide, and I'm not sure if all of you are as familiar with SAP HANA architecture, but really what this is describing is the value of in-memory database. And with Huawei, by installing our log volumes and indexes on a PCIe SSD, it really allows HANA, the right performance to be really the fastest on the market. And the load and recovery time is really the fastest on the market. And we actually have a couple of examples of where we've been able to do data analytics, reduce it down from a traditional database from 2 hours down to seconds or minutes. So now we'll just kind of start to go through the Huawei infrastructure. So we have everything to deliver SAP HANA on Business One, which is more for SMBs, single node, which is for mid-range to high-end, from anywhere from HANA to Business Warehouse on HANA with our 4U server, our 8100, which is going to be introduced at Sapphire, and then our scale-out Converged infrastructure, Fusion Cube. And like I said, one of the key pieces to the solution is our SSD, PCIe SSD, that really delivers the performance compared to the competition. Next slide, we're talking about SAP Business One. So our entry level into SAP Business One is our RH2288, which has been rated #1 in spec tests. So there's a third-party organization called spec.org, and we rate #1 in performance and #1 in energy efficiency. And in our single node solution, the 5885, again, #1 in spec. So we'll go and drill down into these a little bit further in the slides following. Just a little bit on Huawei. So in 2013 and actually now in 2014, we continue to have the highest shipment rate in the global markets. Overall, the #1 growth, and we're #4 in overall server shipments. And as I discussed before, our architecture is really superior in our servers, and combined with our PCIe SSD, it really delivers, the top performance to go with SAP HANA. Then I'd like to just discuss, how Huawei compares to the competition with a single node server. So, one of the huge advantages of Huawei is that we can really span from an entry-level server of 128 gig to 2 terabytes on our single node. That's a 5588. The new server that we're introducing at Sapphire, the 8100, that's already certified with SAP, can span up to 6 terabytes. And the nice thing about the solution is you'll see our overall IOPS on read is leading the competition in the market, and the latency is much lower than our competition, and typically a smaller footprint. So I'll just discuss, really why we get, the ultimate performance. So a lot of the other solutions are utilizing disk, be it, traditional hard disk or SSD to, deliver index and log information. With our PCIe SSD, we have the fastest PCIe SSD on the market. If you compare it to, companies like Fusion.io, LSI, Verident, Storage Review did a very detailed study of this, and we have the fastest PCIe SSD on the market. So then now I'd like to just talk about Huawei scalability. And so we'll just quickly drill down into this. So the single node solution, the 5885, as I discussed before, you can span from 128 gig up to 2 terabytes. The nice thing about it is that you can do this without adding any additional hardware. Really, you're just adding memory, and no JBOD is necessary in order to increase the performance and scalability. So on the next slide, I'll kind of compare us to the competition of that easy upgrade path. As you can see with the 5885, in order to add, more performance, it simply upgrade the memory up to 2 terabytes. If you compare it to some of our other competitors, you will not only have to add memory, but also the complexity of adding a JBOD. And what this does really is it it not only adds to the complexity, it adds to the more difficult to manage and latency, between going between the memory and JBOD. So I just wanted to touch on that. Next, wanted to talk about our converged technology versus, the traditional solutions on the market. With traditional infrastructure, what you'll see, as I described before, it's anything from servers, JBOD technology, disk technology. You'll see networking. The nice thing about the Huawei Converged infrastructure, which we also call Fusion Cube, is it really includes all-in-one server, network, virtualization, and storage. And I'll go on to kind of explain how that all works together to provide ultimate performance. On what we're really describing here is, optimized I/O performance. Since we have converged infrastructure, it's not only blade technology. Again, it's combining servers, InfiniBand, connectivity between the servers and database. So very, very fast 56 gig, InfiniBand, and what it results in is really very high concurrent throughput and random I/O, which is fantastic for the data warehouse solution. Then I'd like to just kind of compare Huawei to the competition again. With our converged infrastructure, we can scale on up with our Fusion Cube up to 12 terabytes, and blades up to 12 nodes. If you compare that to the competition, it's much higher. The log volume is much faster, and the connectivity between the storage is definitely superior to the competition. Okay. Just to give you an example of our converged infrastructure compared to traditional infrastructure in a type of scale-out solution, you can see how much easier and simple it is to install Huawei, manage, and therefore, smaller footprint, higher performance, and a better value. Okay. We've actually done, our own benchmarking with real customers, and this is an example of, some of the performance that we've seen. And this is an oil and gas company where we got some of these results, but then we also just overall, comparing to traditional database as well as our competition, we see 5 times the performance. Ultimately, typically a 20% cost savings from the competition, and again, smaller footprint, so 75% in space savings. All that with lower energy costs as well. Then I just kind of wanted to go over a couple of examples of what we're doing with SAP and a couple of customer success stories. Now the important thing to know is Huawei also runs on SAP HANA, so we're one of our own biggest success stories, and that's really why SAP is our #1 global alliance solution. SAP is actually our only software ISV global solution, and we just think it's fantastic technology. We're using it internally, SAP is utilizing Huawei in its labs in China, and I'll go into a couple of customer examples following. The first solution is a retail example. There's a company called Unicom in Italy. It has about 200 stores throughout Italy. They were really having some problems and putting stock on the shelves at the right time, getting in the sales data that they needed in a timely basis. And so they had actually been a networking customer of Huawei. Huawei went in with SAP and described the SAP HANA solution on Huawei. They were able to reduce their their analytics down from 2 hours to less than 5 seconds. So they're able to deliver the product that the customers needed on time and also be able to get the latest in sales data in that they needed on a timely basis. So this is a great example. Retail is a fantastic vertical for us in the U.S., and this is just an example of what Huawei can do with SAP. So then I'll talk about large oil and gas company. This company, Sinopec's, actually in China. It's one of the largest oil and gas companies, and they had a struggle because they were really they had a business warehouse solution, which was about 30 terabytes, increasing to 100 terabytes. They weren't able to keep up with what they needed in the way of data analytics. So typically, when they were trying to get the latest real-time information, it wasn't real-time. It was they would put the request in, they would get an answer sometime the next day. So with the Huawei solution, with the Fusion Cube solution, they saw improved performance, 4 to 6 times over their RIS server installation, and the data upload times increased from 4 hours to 30 minutes. So just amazing performance with the combined solution of Huawei and SAP. And, just one of the quotes from the Sinopec director, Huawei SAP HANA appliance system runs stably, which was extremely important to them, and the overall performance far exceeded the design standard. And now they're able to scale where they need to go and beyond. The last thing I just wanted to introduce is Huawei is sponsoring at SAP Sapphire. It's SAP's premier event to introduce SAP HANA to customers and partners, and I definitely would like you to come by and visit us. It's in Orlando, May 5th through the 7th, and please see us at booth 439. And you can definitely reach out to us. We can set up an appointment, and would love to see you at SAP at Sapphire or in person, at a selected time. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Nick to open up for further questions, and really appreciate your time today, and look forward to speaking to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, John, and thanks, Jim. We do have quite a few questions that have come in, so I do want to remind everyone, if you have questions, please keep those coming on your Q&A panel within your ReadyTalk interface. Jim, this first one, I think it's for you, and the question is SAP HANA just a fast database?
Right. Well, we do get that question from time to time, and it is certainly a fast database, but it's so much more. As we said earlier, it's really more about almost like a whole new platform, and in many ways, not to get too marketing-esque here, but HANA has largely just really almost transformed the whole database industry. It's really a combination not just of database, but also data processing, application platform capabilities, all of that in one in-memory platform. So I know I talked about it earlier, but just to reiterate, we have quite a few additional services besides just the database for things like predictive analysis for planning, text processing, spatial, business analytics, all of that on the same architecture. And so it is a fast database, but ultimately, and we really do talk about it as the SAP HANA platform. So very much hope to have some great use cases we'll talk about in a year or two with Huawei as well, in addition to the ones John shared earlier.
Excellent. Great answer. This next one could be for either of you. Maybe, John, you might want to take a crack at it first, and that's the question of why should I choose to put SAP HANA on Huawei hardware?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, first of all, what I tried to explain today was really the performance factor. With our PCIe SSD handling the logs and indexes, really, and just the server architecture, be it in our rack servers or scale-out Converged technology, we've proven with real live customers that we've been able to provide superior solution and lower latency and really accelerate the performance. And that, along with the scalability, we can typically offer a solution that's a higher performance and a smaller footprint at a better value. So I hope I was able to explain that today, and would love to discuss it with any of you further.
Excellent. We do have a couple of partners that are on this webinar as well, and I think this question came from one of our partners. And the question is, do you know what the market opportunity is for SAP HANA on the Huawei hardware? Jim, maybe you just might want to answer just a general answer about what the overall market opportunity is for SAP HANA.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm happy to look at it from that standpoint. And John, if you have any specifics to add on Huawei, by all means. If nothing else, and indeed we are certainly seeing on the SAP side an awful lot of interest in SAP HANA, not just from the current install base, but certainly from others as well. And indeed, that's where partnerships can be so incredibly useful on both ends. But what I was going to say was just think about the fact that we've got, as I said earlier in my part of the presentation, we've got about 6,000 or so current SAP HANA customers since our launch in 2011. And the fact is, just from the sheer standpoint of the SAP install base, we've got close to 300,000 customers. The official number now is 282,000 customers in 190 countries. So if you think about the fact that the 6,000 or so HANA users are really just kind of a fraction of that, there's just so much more opportunity just within the SAP install base itself. And so add to that the fact that we have, again, this ecosystem of partners building applications on SAP HANA. And you can imagine that there are multiple customers out there trying to host those applications wherever they can. And that's where the opportunity to host those potentially in one of the HANA Huawei devices could be as compelling as it could be. So as this ecosystem multiplies, not only are we looking at the SAP install base, but potentially others outside of it. And I think it's a tremendous market opportunity.
John, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, Nick, I'd agree. I think it's a matter of awareness, both for SAP HANA and Huawei. Practically every customer that we have the opportunity to work together on, be it with another traditional database, or perhaps they're running on older technology, they've really seen the huge performance increase. And even if they're running another traditional database today, HANA seems to fit into one solution and then proliferate. For example, it could start out in business intelligence, data analytics, and then offer business warehouse and so forth. But it's really fantastic breakthrough technology that in-memory database that really no one else is doing today. And so I think our biggest goal is just to have the opportunity, and that's why we are educating our partners and customers today. And so, like Jim said, there's a huge opportunity there.
Excellent. Jim, this one might be for you. The question is, what are the most popular applications and solutions you're seeing deployed on the SAP HANA platform currently?
Right. Great question. Great question, Nick. There's an abundance of different applications out there, and they are really very much all over the map. I don't know that there's any one vertical that kind of prevails at the end of the day. But one thing I would urge anyone viewing the webinar to do for more information about HANA, you could go to the URL hana.sap.com, and there you will see that much as we showed earlier that we've got some great customer references with SAP Huawei across different industries, there are that many more industries represented in the overall HANA ecosystem. And a lot of the common denominators, as you can imagine, are things like we have information, we just need to process that much more quickly in order to provide that much better ROI and that much better throughput and hopefully that much more capacity, that much better efficiency, if you will, of our resources. But as John mentioned earlier in his examples, we've got many, many different stories of those whose analysis capabilities are sped up significantly. Again, there are many anecdotes out there, but one I'll tell you about because it happens to be close to where some of us are right now, a company called Varian. Some of you might be familiar with them. It's a medical systems company based in Palo Alto, California. And their particular implementation of SAP HANA, they, among other things, have found that a transaction that took them about 3.5 hours previously was now completed in 5 minutes once they implemented their SAP ERP powered by HANA. So that processing capability is amazing. They also saw, if you can believe it, 1,500 times faster transactional processing as well once they installed HANA. So that's not only a great example of some of the ROI, but in this case, Varian is a good example of a healthcare vertical. But as we said earlier, public sector, telecommunications, so many more. And I'd urge anyone listening to go to hana.sap.com for more information and to perhaps look up a specific vertical or case study of interest.
Wow, that's some impressive metrics there. Excellent. Here's a question also from one of our partners, and I'll take the first part of it, and then Jim, you can also take the second part. And the question is, how do I become a Huawei or SAP HANA partner, and is SAP HANA reseller different from just an SAP reseller? So first on the Huawei side, if you look at the URL that's up on the screen there, which is going to be HuaweiEnterpriseUSA.com, if you go there and select the top-level navigation partner selection, you'll be able to easily apply to become a partner. It takes about 5 minutes, usually approved within 24 hours, and at that point you can gain access to our partner portal. And once on that partner portal, there's a wide array of information that's not readily available to the customer base, but definitely intended for our partners. And that includes everything from online training that you can take to our pricing information. You can gain access to configuration tools and a wide variety of other reseller-only kinds of materials. So definitely recommend that you go through that process and gain access to that information. Jim, what about becoming a HANA reseller?
Right. So the best way to find out about certainly HANA resell, or for that matter, other aspects of becoming an SAP partner around HANA would be to simply go to partners.sap.com. And there you'll find information about various different flavors in which you could potentially become a partner, because you're right that reselling is one aspect of it, but another aspect is the ability to also create perhaps some brand new applications earlier. We talked earlier about the ecosystem of apps that are created on SAP HANA both on-premise and in the cloud. So For example, there is a separate track just for those who might want to develop. But again, the ultimate place to go is partners.sap.com for more information on SAP Partner Edge.
Excellent, excellent. Here's a question that several different people asked, and that is, where can I see a demo of SAP HANA running on Huawei? And I know John mentioned a minute ago the Sapphire event in Orlando in May. That's definitely one great place to see a demo. John, what are some other ways that customers and partners can see demos of these solutions running on Huawei hardware?
Yeah, we definitely have proof of concept units available. So the best thing is to have the customer work with us on that. And if the customer doesn't have an SAP system integrator or reseller, we can definitely make recommendations. But definitely contact us at Huawei info at Huawei.com, or we actually have another alias. It's SAP at HuaweiEnterprise.com.
Excellent, excellent. And I think John mentioned this a little bit in the beginning, but we have a couple of different business offices and quite a few development centers scattered around the United States. So there's a large office in Plano, Texas, and Cupertino, California. So if you happen to be local to any of those locations, you can come in where we have hardware running. We can do virtual demos through webinar-type facilities, lots of different ways to get access to that. Jim, this one could be for you, and I think this is actually our final question. And so if you have any more questions, please keep entering them. Otherwise, this is the last one we have for now, and that is, does SAP HANA have any development or customization capabilities?
Right, great question. And as I said earlier, I didn't really elaborate on it, but I've been alluding to this ecosystem of developers who are building these applications. So indeed, we do have a great development capability for HANA, native development capability, if you will. And what you can do is, I won't necessarily get into all the details now, but once again, I'd say go to hana.sap.com, and you can find a specific place there for developers. But ultimately, I'll just give you kind of a bit of a high level. The idea is that you can really, as we like to say, build, deploy, and run these applications, everything from building using traditional database modeling with scripting, things like SQL script for procedures or OData APIs, or you can create UIs as well. And then you can you can create JavaScript and HTML applications using any development tool, and then use that SAP HANA instance as well in order to run those. And then finally, and not insignificantly because it's a big part of our value proposition, the ability to integrate HANA with other systems as well. So when we talked earlier about the fact that you can actually analyze that data across all different data sets, you can integrate that data via ODBC, JDBC. You can consume OData from external applications. And so at the end of the day, you'll be consuming from analytical, mobile, cloud, and other application frameworks. And there are some outstanding applications built out there. One for those of us here in the U.S. that's rather interesting is for any of us out there who might be playing NFL fantasy football, for example, NFL.com. They have a player comparison tool that is built using the native HANA development capabilities, in this case built in the cloud, but that's one of many types of applications that can be built. So again, hana.sap.com for more information.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, as we close it out, I just want to give you guys one last chance for any final thoughts that you have about anybody listening to this webinar. So John, any final thoughts from you?
No, I just really appreciate everybody's attendance today. Thank you, Jim, for participating, and we would love to talk to each and every one of you to, really find out what your, as a customer, what your pain problem is, and we can work with you to solve it. So thank you very much for your time.
Excellent. Jim, any closing remarks?
Well, the sky is the limit with the combination of Huawei and SAP. We're very, very excited about the partnership, and I'm thrilled again. So thanks to both of you for the opportunity to be able to speak on this webinar. We do look forward to working with all of you, and ideally we'll have some even greater successes, as I said earlier, to share at this time perhaps next year. So look forward to seeing the growing ecosystem of our joint solution and the joint integrated customers that will inevitably come out of this partnership. So thanks very much.
Excellent. Well, a big thank you to Jim Gold from SAP and John Pearl from Huawei. If you did not get a chance to see this, hopefully you'll go on the website and see the recording. If you want to share this with a colleague or a partner or a friend, go onto the Huawei Enterprise USA website in the resources section, and you'll be able to get a link to this recorded webinar. Thanks again to everyone, and hopefully we'll see you very soon again on another Huawei webinar. Have a good day.